What is up, Twitch? What's going on, man? It is Jillitize coming to you from the Dungeons&Flagons gaming studio. Got some interesting stuff for you today if you're into 3D printing. How's everybody doing out there today? Hopefully, everybody's having a good day. I see Keepler's in the chat, as always. Thank you for being there, Keepler. It's been one hell of a long day. I did do a lot of photography today. Checking out the new prints, and I have stuff in several stages of printing right now, so we're gonna kind of take a look at that. I do have a camera upstairs now for the printers, although I've been messing around for the last hour and a half and I can't get the sound working on it. So you won't be able to hear me up there, but you'll be able to see what I'm doing. Other than that, I guess we'll kind of get into it. Let's get to it. Let's do it. So, when we're talking about 3D printing, obviously we're talking about miniatures or pretty much anything. You can be printing off pieces for a table or a car or anything. Pretty much anything that you can imagine you could 3D print. I've been working on some really cool stuff from Archvillain games, such as this little guy right here. This is just a base for a miniature that I'm putting together, and actually it's in the wash right behind me over there. We're going to take a look at that here in a little bit. But all the photography that I did today, I'll probably be posting up on Twitter and Discord and stuff later. There's links down in the doobly-doo down below if you're looking for those kinds of things later on. And you'll be able to find those photographs. Some of them came out exceptionally well. I'm really happy with how that worked out. And of course, I had to do quite a bit of research into how to film stuff in order to figure out how to make those photographs look nice. So the first thing we're going to talk about is what to do when you start 3D printing. Obviously, you have to set up your printers and level them and all that, and we're not going through that part of it today. We are going to go through how the rest of the process works. The first thing that I'm going to do is grab one of the USB sticks from one of the printers upstairs and stick that right into a USB socket on the computer. Then I'm going to get a file loaded up on it so that I can print it. So we're going to go to Chitubox, which is what I'm using for printing. I just used the basic version. I was trying the pro version, and I really don't see a reason that I would need the pro version. So I went back to the basic version because I don't need to pay for that. I already paid for enough stuff. So one thing that you can do in Chitubox is you can actually set up your machine. I'm using Elegoo Mars 2 Pro printers. I have 2 of them. And you can set up and put your resin in there. So you can figure how much it's going to cost. All your resin settings for printing, which I know these are slow. If you're 3D printing and you go at 240 or whatever the case is, Godspeed, my friend. I like to go slow, and I'm not really worried about having a 5-hour print time versus like a 2.5-hour print time, because I just want the model to come out right. And not have build plate sticking issues and things of that nature. So on the screen here, we have a picture of the plate. And this is the actual, like the scaled model of the build plate on the printer. And since they're both the same, it's easy. So we're going to go up here, select open file. We're going to go look through some files. And I have a lot of them now. But I've been doing a lot of stuff with like the Archvillain game stuff. And I think I'll probably just do a quick print on some little miniatures. Nothing too fancy or big. I'm going to use the pre-supported file so I don't have to add supports into these. Let's see. I think these are going to be big. Oh, we'll see how big this is. But once it pops up into the printer, you can actually resize it and all that. So here's the base for the one that we would print. And of course, this has got spider webs all over it because this is going to be part of the drow stuff that I'm going to print for the D&D sessions on Thursday. And as these folks get into the drow levels of the Dungeon of the Mad Mage, I wanted to have some cool stuff for them to check out. So we're looking at the base for, well, what is it called? I think it's, I guess it doesn't really, Arachnus. So Arachnus. And we will look at some male poses and all that stuff and female poses and all that too to put on the base. But we're going to slide this around. We're going to have to adjust this later. So the first thing I do is just put it on the plate. And then we'll open up another file here. And you can put several things on the plate. It's actually more beneficial to get more things on the plate and print it all at once, especially if it's going to be something that's a very tall file, because really the only thing that matters when you're 3D printing as far as the time of the print is going to be whether or not the model is solid or hollow, or whether or not it's going to be tall or short. Tall stuff is going to take a lot longer to print, and stuff that is not hollowed out and is, you know, solid, rock solid, is going to be a lot longer to print as well. And it's going to be heavier. Those things can rip off the build plate, things like that, depending on the weight of that stuff. And in fact, the other day, as I'm fairly new to 3D printing, the other day I had one that was a very large print, and I used up probably a third of a bottle of resin and wasted it because I ran out of resin in the vat overnight, and I did not check that before I went to bed. So mistake learned. So now if I have super long prints, usually I'm printing hollow stuff now, and if I have super long prints, I'm gonna add a little bit of resin before I go to sleep, that kind of thing, if you're printing overnight. Otherwise, you can check it throughout the day and follow up and pour some more resin in there. But let's check out these. So we got the male models here. Let's take a look at these models and see what we got here. So this would be, okay, so this is a Drider, male Drider, looks like. And you can see that these are pre-supported. They already have all the supports already built into them. I have not had any issue with these from Archvillain. These have worked out just fine. You have to be pretty careful on some of them to make sure that you're not ripping off part of your model. And I'm going to deselect. Sorry, text messages. So you have to be careful when you're ripping off the supports. And I'll show you that. Well, no, I think I cleaned those already. So I don't have any with the supports on them, but we're going to do a little bit touch-up cleanup. And then I'll show you how to cure them here in a little bit. So let's see. Let's go with these guys for now. We'll check out this Drider. We'll go ahead and get that printed. And see how that turns out. So, sorry, kids more like it. Yeah, I know. Actually, let's check out these other models real quick though while we're in here. So then we can kind of pick a pose that we really want to. Is this a different base or is it the same base? Looks like the exact same base. So the bases that we have are fine. We'll go back, use the main base, I guess. Okay, place that on the build plate, and then we'll go look at the rest of these models. Let's look at the female ones. I think if the female ones are the ones I was seeing in the photo, then some of those are actually looking pretty cool. I mean, the male ones look cool too, but for some reason, they make the female ones look better. So yeah, she looks pretty cool. Big spider legs. You can see that there's a really big, what do you call that? What do you call that part on the spider? That's the thorax? I don't remember. But yeah, so pretty sweet. Let's go look at the other one real quick. So that was pose 1. We're going to go look at pose 2. Okay, so this is a little bit shorter model. And actually, I think this is the one I was looking at earlier. So I think we're going to print this. So I'm going to hit deselect all so that I can move these around individually. And we'll get them both kind of centered nice on the build plate. Okay. And you see this one here. See, if you looked from the top, it's actually cut off, right? it doesn't really matter this blue part. I mean, it does a little bit, but it doesn't really matter if it goes over that blue part a little bit. You just don't want it to be like massively over that. Try to keep them in the center if you can. Off the blue at all is ideal. And you don't want your models touching each other, so you got to look for this little stuff when you turn them to make sure that you're not getting a piece of a model into the supports of the other model on the build plate. So we have this Drider chick here, and she's pretty much set to go. Now, we may up this just a touch. I like to scale the models up just a little bit, so we'll go up a little bit. I don't think we're going to be able to go too far with it. So I think, let's see, right now we're at, usually it would tell me. Yeah, 110.54, which is about average for what I can get on this build plate if I'm going to put several pieces on it. If you wanted to blow one item up really big, you could do that. But we're not doing that today. So I'm going to scale this one up as well to 110, and you want them to be the same size because if the models go together, they have to be able to fit each other, right? So the base is obviously going to go with this Drider here, and we can turn these a little bit and kind of finagle them onto the build plate a little bit. We're just going to turn the Z-axis here, and you can see these little rotators so that you can kind of push them exactly where you want them. And I'm going to put them right up to the blue on this edge. And we have plenty of room on the other side, so I think we're good on that one. This one here, we'll probably turn this a little bit. We'll go the other way. Let's go just a touch this way. All right, and then we'll drag this back towards the edge of the build plate. Now you can see that I'm very close now that I've scaled these models up a little bit. And this will probably end up being a longer print than I wanted originally, but hopefully they'll come out really cool. Again, from the photographs you'll see on Twitter later today and Instagram, things like that, you'll see that they come out really nice. But so thank you to them for these models. Of course, I subscribe to their Patreon and stuff like that. Okay, so we're looking down the center here, and what we're looking for is to make sure that none of these supports are connected. I think that I've done it several times where the supports can actually be connected to each other and they will build into each other, and that's not so much of an issue unless you get a support that's super thick and it's attached to the model like right where the supports connect. So that would be kind of an issue. You probably have to do some cleanup or cut part of that off. So the best idea is just to not have them touching at all. And as you can see, there's a little bit of gap here, even at 110% on these models. Yeah, they are very close. But that shouldn't be a problem because these printers are amazing. They've been doing a fantastic job. So you can see the bottom of the build plate shows you where the first layer is going to start. And of course, it builds all the way up from the layers. And if you look through, and let's see, they're going to build upside down. So this is how they would look on the build plate when they come out. And normally it'll show you the top. I'm not sure why it's not showing that. Yeah, I don't know. But we're going to hollow these out. I think maybe they are hollowed already. Let's go look. This was in Arachnus. This is in hollowed. Oh, pre-supported. Let's go. Those are Dark Elves. The world pre-supported. Okay, so I don't know if these are hollowed out or not. And I'm just not even going to mess with that right now, I think. Let's see if we can find any holes. Usually if it's a hollowed out model, supports are very cool looking. Yeah, you like the supports, Keebler. Yeah, and the way they print with the black resin is like super cool. So I guess she really likes that. But unfortunately, they'll be a little bit more boring today because I'm using beige on everything at the moment because I'm actually out of the black, or I only have very little of it left now since I wasted a bunch of it on that solid model. So, okay, so I don't think these are hollow because you would normally see holes in them. So we'll kind of look I'm just kind of looking around to see. I think these are actually solid models. And they may take up quite a bit of resin. I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 milliliters, 300 milliliters, 230 milliliters to 300 milliliters or something for the actual size of the resin vat on the printers that I have. So if you go past that, when you slice it, it'll tell you many will be cooler than the supports then. So when you go through and slice it, it'll actually tell you how much resin you'll be using, so you can kind of make sure you have enough in the vat for that. But of course, after I got done with the last print, and like I do with every print, I go through, clean up everything, and make sure that I don't have a bunch of junk everywhere, and then I refill the vats. So I think we got these pretty good. They're spaced on the plate pretty good. Nothing's actually touching. It may be kind of a long print. We'll see how this goes. But so this will be one of the dryers, and that's how it's going to hang on the build plate. Now, when it builds, you can actually look at that too. Let's look at the bottom here, and we'll go all the way down to the bottom. So there's our first layer, and we can actually watch how this is going to build, which is pretty neat, from the bottom of the plate. So now as we build up, and you can kind of watch for spots, and there's the supports coming up. So this is how it's actually going to build as it goes through the process. And you can see the whole thing kind of form up. And you can watch for spots where you think it's going to overhang or it's not going to print properly, those kinds of things. And if you go into your support settings, which I'm not going to do here because we already have pre-supported miniatures. But if you go into your support settings, you can actually see red marks that are overhangs, and you probably would want supports there if you're going to support your own models. So yeah, you'll see how this is actually going to build all the way up until it gets to the final layers. And then once it gets to the final layers, you're done, and you have a miniature hanging from the build plate. We'll go take a look at what happens after that in a bit. So we're going to slice this. That's the next step. So we now have our 2 miniatures on there, or our one miniature on there in the base. We're going to go to look at the settings. Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to go ahead and slice it. So when we slice it, basically what it's doing is the computer is breaking down the entire model and putting it into a format so that the printers can read it. And then again, you can see this would be on the screen on the printer, so you can actually see what the builds looks like all the way from the base on up. So this is telling me that it's a 3 hour and 35 minute print. I'm not sure why this is not exactly correct. I think it's based on, maybe it's because I changed the bottom exposure time. So my bottom exposure time is typically 40 instead of 35. So I print a little bit slower on the bottom just so that it'll stick well. And it tells me it's going to cost, it's going to use 72.82 milliliters of resin. It's going to weigh about 80 grams. And that basically is going to cost me $2.18 in resin to print it. And it's going to take 3 hours and 35 minutes. Now, when we get to the printer up top, that's going to be wrong. It's going to end up jumping up to about 4.5 hours from that kind of number. So, and we'll see what that turns into. So we're going to take this, we're going to save this file. We have female post 2 supported. We're going to look for our drive, which is going to be this one here. We have our new print folder. Okay. Sheesh. And of course I got the hollow Ducato, which I have in the cleaner over there. We're going to take a look at that one here in a minute. But this is the female post 2, and we're just going to type this in. I think we're just going to put drider female 110.54, and that's just so that I can remember what size I scaled this to. So it's 110% of what the actual file was. We're going to save that to this, and it takes just a second to save. So how's everybody's day going, man? Everybody's doing good? Who we got in here today? Looks like it might just be Keebler and me. Keebler and me today, but that's okay. We can take some of this footage and edit it up and hopefully post it on something later for tutorial purposes. 15 more minutes of work, so yay. Yay, you're almost off work. I know, and I need to get the video done before you come home. So I got like a half an hour of this. So I don't have a lot, so it's good. We'll get to it. So now we've sliced it, we've saved it, we put in our settings and stuff already. Mine are just auto-saved, and we have it on the USB stick. So now we can technically print right from that USB stick. Now what we're gonna do is, since we have two printers, we're gonna run both of them. So I'm gonna grab the other USB stick, stick that in there. Yeah, we have dinner plans. Nom 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 nom. Yeah, we're gonna go eat something. So I'm gonna go back here. We're gonna hit new project up in the top left. We're not gonna save the current project. We already have it saved on USB. We are, however, going to let's see, flip the build plate back over the top, and then we're gonna open another file. So let's go look at something else here. Let's go to the STL folder. Do we want something else from Archville and Games, or should we do something different? Let's look at the... Okay, now this is a massive miniature, if I remember right. I believe this is the one with the thing sticking out of it. Yeah, it has like a human sticking out of the front of it. This is like a monster with a creature in its mouth, maybe, or running it. I don't know. It's nuts. Okay, so we're gonna take a look at this one. We may print this out. This one is from Kraken's Vault. Baby Yoda. Oh, okay. Okay. Let's go look at Baby Yoda. So let's see. Let's go look at Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda. Okay. So let's see. We have the base, the body, the eyes, the hands, the head, the nails. You can do all of that, or you could just put Baby Yoda in here. Let's take Baby Yoda and put Baby Yoda in there. Oh my God, there he is. What you seek is seeking you. What? Is that what it says at the bottom? Is seeking you. What you seek is seeking you. Was that a line from Mandalorian? I don't recall that. Yeah, so we have little baby Yoda here. We're gonna, and I honestly, I think I got this. This is a free model, I believe, on Thingiverse, if I remember right. So a model like this that's not pre-supported. So we're gonna have to add support. So this is probably a good tutorial. We're gonna take a look at how big this guy is. I don't think he's gigantic, but we're going to, first of all, let's scale him up a little bit here. Oh, maybe not, because we're gonna have to put supports and all that stuff in here. And look, his ears are already hanging off. So we won't scale him up. Let's go centered on the build plate for now. We're gonna rotate him. On this one, we're gonna want to do a little tip back. We're almost at 40 degrees. We want about a 40 to 45 degree. Well, about a 40 to 42 degree seems like to me works out best. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna flip him. We're gonna rotate him a bit sideways. I'm not sure which way is gonna be the best way to do that. I think maybe like this, just a little sideways off angle. And we'll get him up here. I have to come get the cats. Oh, okay. That's great. I swear. Kids, man. So we're going to, we've got him tilted. I kind of want to put him up a little bit. Let's see, is it on the X? No, it's on the Z, I think. Yeah. So we're going to push him up a little bit off the build plate. Um, yeah. And then we're gonna rotate him, I think, a little bit more here. Let's just push it like that. I'm not seeing any red. So if it starts hanging off the build plate, you're gonna see red. Okay, now we're gonna take and hollow this guy out. So we're gonna hollow the model, 1.2 millimeter wall thickness, which is about normal. Infill structure, none. Hollowing process, animation, inner, outer, start. So that's breaking them all down and turning him into a hollowed model. Um, okay, and then we're going to go look at supports here. Also, we want to punch some holes, but we'll get into that in a second. Okay, so let's do that. Let's dig the hole out. So with a hollowed model, you're going to have to drain it in some way. And when it gets done printing, so I think what we're going to do is we'll put a circle shape of about 2-3 millimeters. Well, we'll do a full 5 millimeter length. And then we're going to keep the hole. So basically it'll print it on the build plate. And then that way we can fill it back in later. But where do we want to dig the hole out? Probably right in the back of his head. So that we can have resin draining out. And how do we do that? Hold on. Splitting according to set parameters. Okay, circle, depth, add a hole. Okay, here we go. So now we have our little hole maker. Now we're going to put 2 holes in the bottom, which you can see into the model now. So now I have 2 holes in the bottom, and you see it takes those hole punches and it puts them out on the build plate. And it'll actually make those for you. And then I think we'll put one into the top of his head. And I feel like that is really big. So we're going to undo that. Can we, yeah, Control Z. And we'll go back, and those are just too damn wide. So we'll just change the holes up a little bit here. So we'll go back to 2 millimeter holes. Add a hole. We'll punch a hole in the bottom. Hole in the top of the head. Probably by the ear or something, so it's not super noticeable. All right. There we go. And then that way air can escape out. You won't have a bunch of issues with that. Now we're going to move stuff. So we are going to look at the plug. Let's select all. Okay, we want plug 1. We're going to move it. Put it on the plate, which it is on the plate. And we can just build these up. We're going to try it. We'll see how that works. If it doesn't, then I'll have to seal over the holes. But, so we're going to just go over and add supports. Oh, whoops. No. Go back. Whoa. Oh, son of a bitch. It all aired out on me. So, yes, let's go back. Okay, so here we go. We're going to unselect all. Go back over here, get rid of that secondary copy of Baby Yoda. We need to add the hole in the head because that's where it obviously left off. So we'll do that one back here. Okay, the ones in the bottom don't matter too much. I just don't want a big one in his head. All right, so we got that. Now we're gonna select all. We're gonna add supports. We're gonna select all, and now it's gonna add supports to this model. Okay, so you can see that the supports on this side are going off the build plate, just a touch. So we'll go back. We'll slide it back onto the build plate. No ears are hanging off, no base is hanging off. So I think we have Baby Yoda set up on the build plate now. Yes, he's a troublemaker on here as well as the TV show. And we have our little plugs supported as well. We'll see how those print out. That'll be the first time I'm actually using plugs, so that'll be a cool little trial and error thing. We're going to look at the slicer settings here. Layer height 0.55, 2.5, 40. Yeah, I think we're good on that. We're going to slice this. Let's see how big that is in the box. I mean, it's a decent sized model. We're going to slice that. We'll see what it comes up to. Wow. Wow. So he uses 33.5 milliliters and only costs $1, but it takes 5 hours and 22 minutes to print them. Okay. And so far, I think there might be supports. Yeah, there is. Okay, so there's supports all around. I think we might be golden with the supports that are on there. We're going to go back real quick and just look at that. Let's go back and look at supports. Okay, now as you can see from this, see how they turn red? So the red stuff on the model is going to be stuff that's overhanging badly or whatnot, and probably needs support. So we have plenty of support underneath his body here. However, we'll just add a couple of supports, which I guess I don't really care if I over support. I just want the model to turn out. So we're gonna put another support, and you can kind of build these into each other if you want. Sometimes they stretch out and build into each other. We're gonna put another one on the back here of the head, and right in the crease of the ear seems important to me. So I think we're gonna get a support in there. The rest of these are looking pretty decent. I might do another row right up here on the back of the ear and probably put it in the creases or stuff where you're not going to notice it as much once you rip it off. So I think we have Baby Yoda here, and we'll see how he turns out. We're going to go back over. We'll have to reslice it now that it's all supported and we put our extra supports in. And 5 hours, 22 minutes, which will probably turn into a 6-hour print. So it probably won't be done till like 10:30 tonight. Right around the time we're doing FPS Friday on Friday night. So probably in the middle of Sea of Thieves or something tonight, we'll have this print done. We're gonna go ahead and hit save on this. This is Baby Yoda. So name's good. We got to go into our USB drive for this. We'll go into our print folder, and you can see I've been printing a ton of stuff here. But okay, so this is the original Baby Yoda that I was gonna do. So I'm going to just overwrite that save so that it's the same name. But now you saw how to add some supports, how to put it on the build plate, how to get a print set up. And then you put that on the USB stick as we're doing here, saving it. And again, this is version 1.9 of Cheetahbox Slicer. Other people like to use Lychee or, let's see, what's some other slicing software? What else was I using? For flash boards, they have proprietary software that they use for their own stuff. Some of the printers have their own stuff. A lot of them are using Cheetahbox or are locked to Cheetahbox. And for some reason, there's differing opinions out there, whether you want to use like Lychee or you want to use Cheetahbox. I have not had any problems, so I just use it. So now we have both prints saved on the USB sticks. So our next step is to go and put them in the printer. We can get this one out of here. Go put these both in the printers and get them going. So we will be back. I'm gonna exit out of this. I'm gonna take you over to this layout, and I will meet you upstairs. Again, I do not have sound on the camera upstairs, so I won't really be talking up there. I'm basically just gonna put these USB sticks into the printers and get them going, and then I'll be back and we'll talk about the next step. All right, hang on. All right, so put those in there, and it looks like it's gonna be 5.5 hours for Baby Yoda, almost 6 hours for Baby Yoda, and that's gonna be 10:30, and then 3.5 hours for, and it may change a little bit. It'll probably bump up once they actually start printing, but 3.5 hours for the drider. So we'll take a look at that. So next up, I'm going to run over and grab the stuff out of the wash that I was working on, and we'll move over to this camera here. Hopefully the audio is okay. I'm not going to switch up the mics. All right, just pulling these out of the wash water. Okay. And again, I'm just going to leave this mic going. And hopefully you can hear me okay. I guess you can let me know if you can't, since I'll be turned away from it. But I think you can see here that we have a kata, the other one that I washed already. And we're just going through, I want to look at the, make sure I usually tear all the supports off. So this is once it comes out of the printer, it's got all the supports on it. And I've already cleaned those off today before I decided to do this video. So most of that is taken off already. However, you go through at the end of this and just see if there's some extra pieces that you missed or things like that. And then I just take a little, you could use a scalpel or an X-Acto knife. I'm using an X-Acto knife. And just go through and clip those little pieces off. Get any little pieces of remaining supports out. And you can see this was a hollow model. And it's got holes in it. So that's neat. So you drain all the water out of that, and there's still kind of a little bit of water draining out of that. Looks like most of it turned out pretty damn good, and you can see there's like even layers where the little spines are off its back. So, I mean, honestly, he looks pretty good. I think I got most of it when I ripped the supports off. There's a couple little things here, which you can kind of, I like to do this when it's soft. You can do it after it's been cured too, but it tends to be harder to do. Things break easier once it's cured because it becomes quite brittle. So it's easier to do when it's soft. And since it hasn't been cured, of course, I'm using gloves because resin's not fun on the old skin. There's a support on the inside here. Just gonna trim that off. Get it out of there. See, that's a big one. Let's see that. But quite a large piece of support right there that was in the middle. So we got that off. And just looking through the more tinier bits. I mean, there's some stuff on the skull there. It looks like it's all pretty good. Bit of support there. These are just nitpicky details because a lot of times you're not even going to notice this stuff unless it's pretty drastic. But this one looks pretty good as well. Bend this piece back. That's another thing. If you need to fix part of the model or something, it's best to do that while it's soft before you've actually cured it. And then this is the last little piece of leg here. And as you can see, there's little ball joints on the feet, and that's where these are the feet of this model. And again, this is from Archvillain Games. This is his name is Akata. Hopefully, this printed okay. We're gonna see how that works out. But it seems awfully close to the skull face on the knee pads, but we'll see how that works out. Other than that, it looks pretty damn good. I think I cleaned most of it when I did that earlier and ripped out the supports. So still need to print his arms yet, and then he's got a weapon and all that good stuff. I think there's another piece in the middle for the legs to attach to. So not a word. I'm sure they're all mad because of this cat deal. All right, so I'm just getting some of that out. And then what I do is I just blow dry all of this so that I can get the model dry before I cure it. And probably since we already started those ones upstairs, I won't start the actual arms and the center torso part until later tonight. So these ones here we will take over and dry. And then we'll start them to curing once we get them dried out. So for now, you're gonna hear some blow drying. Okay, sorry about all the noise. So now that they are dried, or reasonably dried, and I'll probably leave these overnight to dry because the insides were wet. So if you can see that, so here's the head of Akata, mostly dry now, and you can see the details kind of pop out once you get them dried. And he's not totally dry. I mean, I can still see a little bit of water on him. So we will leave him out overnight to continue to dry. The other thing is that when you are putting the models together, it's typically easier to put the models together before they've been cured. Number one, the glue dries really fast in the curing machine with the UV light on it. And that's how resin cures, is with ultraviolet light. So you could leave them out in the sun if you didn't have a curing machine or ultraviolet light. You could leave them out in the sun, but it would take quite a bit longer. Probably want to set them out there for a few hours if you're going to do that. And then we have the final leg over here. All right, and here's the other leg. And then I think on the next video that I do, I'll probably do something where I actually show this thing getting assembled or put together. But then basically you would take this, you would dry it, you're going to cure it in the ultraviolet light. And let's go back over to this camera. Here. You're going to take it, dry it, cure it in the ultraviolet light, and then you're going to put it together, right? Or you're going to put it together and then cure it. So however you decide to do that. And then you can paint it or prime it and then paint it. So that is a quick tutorial and the steps to miniature painting from putting it in the slicer. We didn't really get into the washing part, but I think you can figure that part out. This is a water washable resin from Elegoo. And you can essentially, you can wash it in water. Other resins, you have to use alcohol to do that. Probably like 99, or you want a really high percentage of isopropyl alcohol in order to do it. For this, I actually am able to use just water. So that's kind of handy. And I like the resin, it doesn't smell as bad, that kind of thing. So yeah. So we have our pieces. I guess I'll take it back over there real quick. Let's see. Let's go DM cam. Does that one show it? No, sorry, dice cam. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, so we have our little pieces washed and clean, and you can see some other models that I've been working on in the background. Again, thank you for joining us today. I'm gonna get out of here. I gotta go hit dinner. Um, and yeah, and I'll take some of this footage and edit it up, hopefully for YouTube or one of the VODs or something for a tutorial later. But yeah, you got a crash course in 3D printing today. And if you want to check out more stuff like that, feel free to check me out on the social media platforms down below in the doobly-doo. And I will see you next time, probably later tonight for FPS Friday. We'll see how that turns out. Thank you guys for coming, and I'm gonna go eat now. Bye.